Anti-Afro Svengalis, I'm going to talk to you about the concept of control. The concept of control is something that a number of people really don't have any idea about how it works. They just know they want control. And there are those who want all this control and they have no idea how to manage it. Let me go ahead and put this chart up here because we're talking about the concept of control. If you got to use any of these methods to make yourself or to fool yourself into thinking you got control over someone, that is a representation of no self-control. That's a representation of things being out of control. That's a representation of panic. That's a representation of being completely unaware that you're placing yourself at risk to have even more of your constitutional rights compromised. Laquan Fisher, Rage Pigs, is on probation on a fourth waiver, already with compromised constitutional rights. All these other behaviors simply put these two in the crosshairs of law enforcement, in the crosshairs of the court system. What control are you going to have when that goes down? None. Marijuana in the state of Georgia is an illegal drug, and both of these fools are caught right up in these YouTube streets admitting to using marijuana. And I don't believe the marijuana they're using is marijuana of any quality grade. I think it's garbage grade and laced. That's why they're acting the way they are. Add the alcohol onto it. Yes, we've seen it, folks. These two are one and the same, seeking to have inordinate control over others with a very low frustration tolerance. When others won't say what they want them to say, won't think how they want them to think, won't do what they want them to do, they lose it. And have the nerve to sit here and try to target other people who don't have any of these issues. I'm using myself as an example. On a panel a week or so ago, there were subjects that came up on the panel. The host allowed them to come up. Obviously, a person can't come up on the panel unless the host allows them to. The host is very much aware that I'm not going to interact with these subjects. And so I assert my stance. This is a stance that I assert for my protection. My dignity and my self-respect remains intact. It would not remain intact if I expose myself to subjects who have a long established history of either direct or indirect perpetration of atrocities targeted towards me, AFW, friends, and supporters. This goes to the extreme of supporting, applauding, encouraging threats of murder, of rape, or sexual torture, or targeting families. I mean, we know what has happened in and around the Umar Johnson sector. Here's another element of control: acting like something didn't happen, trying to pretend as if there was no participation in it. I didn't even indulge that. I continued to request the host, ask the host, insist that the host either drop, mute, or whatever you want to call it, if the host had questions for me. I was not going to remain on the panel. I would not even take questions from the subjects. So at one point in time, I decided to leave the panel. My self-respect and my dignity is intact. I asserted it. It was in the realm of reality for me to assert my right not to interact with anyone who has engaged in the activities or atrocities that I just referenced. Now, on the other end, you have subjects who are engaged in what you call ego distortion. They feel they're going to be able to successfully force me to have an interaction or an exchange with them, thinking that they're so intelligent and so wise as to convince the world that isn't the reason why they caught the link. They are not regulars who catch links on these host panels. They just happened to wait until I came up there. Here's the situation. I'm still going to assert my position. What the host does is what the host does. I'm not going to compromise the other way. Stalkers, abusers, harassers, they're the ones who need to take these aggressive acts towards their targets. Count the number of times where I've ran around to these subjects, imploding upon their panels and demanding they speak to me. That tells a story right there. That would be taking an inordinate amount of control of a situation, or at least attempting to take control of a situation, a circumstance. I'm going to come up on a panel in another space where I don't deal with any of the subjects and try to take over and demand subjects speak to me. Here's what you have to keep in mind. Who is the aggressor? The aggressor is the one who's looking to push for the control that is out of the realm of reality or expectation. And that's exactly what happens. Trying to force me to do something I have no intention of ever doing. I'm not going to do it. The host who lit these subjects up, they don't speak to people who they don't want to speak to. However, they think I should have to be forced to speak to someone, re-emphasizing I don't have to be there. And it won't be the skin off my back. It'll be skin off their back because they failed to control and get me to do what they want me to do, which brings me to Laquan Fisher and Carrie Ann Wilson. It goes back to the ego distortion before the mouth is even moving. There's a preset expectation that others need to meet them in a certain space. When you're talking about these two, it's unreasonable. Now, let me stop for a second because I want to say something about mental health diagnoses. I'm the one getting paid to render mental health diagnoses, and I'm getting paid damn good money for it. I get paid additional money to sit my ass on a witness stand and explain the reasons why I made those diagnoses. Throughout my entire career, every single one of my reports, all of my diagnoses are rendered sound and valid, upheld by a judge, for which a judge uses the report to render decisions, including for those on probation, on parole, in the child welfare system. So I need someone like who? Rage Pigs? To determine what my self-worth will be if he uses diagnoses, has no idea what they mean. That also applies with Carrie Ann. Carrie Ann is going to say something about claiming I have a certain diagnosis and I'm going to fall apart. This goes back to the inordinate expectation to render control over others based on the subjects, the aggressors, doing and saying things and expecting their targets to have a certain reaction to it. Now, Carrie Ann, for all what she wants to claim, that she's being harassed, she's being targeted by Rage Pigs, but doesn't have the guts to report into probation. Trust and believe, Rage Pigs crossing the line, I'm going to report that ass like I did the first time, and the district attorney told me close. That's the route that I'm going to go down. I'm not going to sit up here and argue with Laquan Fisher, who didn't have enough self-respect or dignity to buckle down and get a high school diploma. Carrie Ann is allowing them to do it to her. I'm no Carrie Ann. The district attorney also stated, we will reconsider this case with additional evidence. So by no means are my options closed off. If at any time I believe that Rage Pigs is engaging in harassment, and he's inching closer to it because I have plenty of live streams where he has made reference to me by name. So trying not to include my name, listing the county where I live, is not insulating Rage Pigs. Let me further emphasize, criminal charges are not the only way someone on probation can be given a probation violation. Harassing other people, whether or not they file a restraining order, is a violation of probation. It does not have to result in criminal charges. Carrie Ann doesn't have the guts to do anything about it. I sure as hell do. So you want to keep trying to insert me into your bullshit? I will again reach out to probation administrators. And when I gather up this additional information on the Social Security crimes, I'm going to have my attorney shoot that to the district attorney's office. Nobody in these YouTube streets is going to wage a campaign of harassment against me and try to claim that they are being harassed and targeted because I simply respond to their abuse and their harassment. The aggressors are the aggressors. That's well established. No law enforcement agency is going to flip a switch and call us the harassers, the abusers, and the stalkers. It's clearly on record who the criminals are. It's clearly on record who's non-law abiding and who is law abiding. There is no question about that. This is a convicted felon with compromised constitutional rights as we speak right here and now on a fourth waiver, which means the cops, any law enforcement agency can bust up into his shit and search it without a warrant. They can't do that to me. He's on probation. He's on formal supervised probation. He can't follow me out of a city, can't follow me out of a state, can't follow me out of the country. Someone in that condition coming onto these YouTube streets thinking he can run any show, it's a joke, people. And this is an example of seeking to have control far out of the realm of possibility. This comes a lot closer to the concept of delusions than someone asserting their dignity and self-respect. I asserted my position, and that was it. The stalkers need to try to see what they can do to control me, which you will never succeed at. But coming on these YouTube streets and thinking because you say something about someone, you can control what they do. If you're Carrie Ann, if you're those other simpleton females over there, and Nikki Proctor Walden, oh my God, you talk about self-concept below sewer level, bragging about having a PhD and running after rage pigs who couldn't even get a high school diploma, hasn't even achieved a GED. Now, would that always be the case? No, but it is in this situation. You got somebody putting his hands around women's necks in front of children, in front of his own kids, threatening murder, suicide, threatening revenge porn. If you don't come back to me, I think that's a lot more within the realm of delusions to think that's a reasonable expectation. You don't have self-control. You don't have control over anything if this is what you have to do to move about in the world. Yeah, illegal drugs. Yeah, let me make sure it's clear what I mean by illegal drugs. Illegal and dangerous drugs. I should have added that on the list here. In the state of Georgia, marijuana is illegal. And there's no way I believe that either one of these fools are smoking straight marijuana without it being laced. The way they're acting, Rage Pigs and Carrie Ann have openly admitted, both of them, to consuming alcohol and illegal drugs. Yes, illegal drugs. They have stated it. They can deny it all they want, but it's up here in these YouTube streets on multiple live streams. There's no point to even argue the issue. Both Rage Pigs and Carrie Ann use misgendering, sexual orientation bashing, or sexual orientation questioning as tools of attack. When they fail to be able to control their targets, this is their go-to. Run live streams on it. Mention it over and over and over again as if they're trying to brainwash people into believing their lies. This is what they do. Think about who has an issue with these topics. It would be those who bring it up. Who would even think of conjuring up in their mind two men having sex and going as far as to say you got their penis pictures in your phone or someone sent penis pictures? I don't even think they actually realize how ridiculous they look and sound. And then when they get mad, like Carrie Ann does, the whole sector thinks you're gay. Most of the people think you're gay. Let me tell you something. This is another crude form of trying to figure out how to seize control. The issues that they consider to be the most crucial to them, they believe other people feel the same way. They're bringing up these issues, not the targets of attack. But before I make any reports, I'm going to have to do research because there have been some pretty significant episodes that have gone down in these YouTube streets with Rage Pig's name, legal name all over it. I'm refusing to believe that that information didn't go to probation. The question is what was done about it. He was all up in this bullshit with Antonio Johnson, who got fired and his probation credentials revoked. He's up here giving grown mold money, who has renewed a whole round of threats of violence and hanging out with in their chats. This is another probation violation. But this is someone who wants to get up here, not mind his own business, start targeting people. For what? What reason is he targeting people? Always, it's behind Stargate, it's behind breaking the culture of silence because they wouldn't be his slaves. I'm going to find out what was done about this. I don't go by this because we black folks ain't nothing going to happen. Yes, if something went down, something needs to be done about what Rage Pigs has done. I'm going to insist it be addressed. In the meantime, he's not going to get up here and harass me in these YouTube streets. Again, thinking just because he's omitting my name this time out that he's exempt. No, because I have a whole litany of other videos where he's saying the exact same thing with my name. We'll see how this goes, folks. But if he thinks he's going down this road again, thinking you're going to harass me with impunity, absolutely not going to happen. We will see where this leads, folks. In the meantime, buyer beware.